Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Hi, Rob Browne here with you on this beautiful Saturday morning over here in Cross County, right outside of Memphis. We're on the Arkansas side of the bridge. Great show lined up for us today. Frank Duffy, go Tigers, will be checking in from down in Baton Rouge. They're playing, look at the night game. They're already out there tailgating. I'm getting all kind of photographs and a lot of people down there. I think they've got the 6 o'clock kickoff on ESPN against Arkansas. Doug Dean will check in with us in a minute from Birmingham, the AU Dose. Also, going to have Dave Tompkins from the Low Country over in Beaufort, South Carolina, where they make the Low Country stew. He will check in. Buddy Martin in hour number 2, and the intern Billy Ray Valentine. Capricorn, man. How are you? But we'll be covering a lot of football today. There are a bunch of games going on. This is one of the best days. It's kind of like when you have an eclipse or a comet making a run by. This is one of those days, folks. There's so much good football. If you're not at the games or you're not tailgating outside of a football stadium, getting liquored up, watching the games, I don't know what you're doing. But it's a great day to be a college football fan. And believe me, those numbers are growing. Real quick, you're out and about today. Service department is open bright and early. Red River Ford Toyota in Wynne, Arkansas, open until 12:30. You got to get your car, truck, or SUV serviced. They're great. Also, go to the website, redriverfordtoyota.com. They deliver anywhere. The great folks over there, Justin Wynn, the general manager, Red River Auto Group. You may remember one of the names, John Dobbs Jr., is part of the Red River Auto Group. Great people to work with, them and the Ward family over in Wynne, Arkansas. Again, they deliver anywhere. All right. The Archbishop J. Peter Sarton, first ever St. Paul Open, will be Monday, October 2nd. That is going to be, folks, a week from Monday. There'll be a dinner the night before. It's at Chickasaw Country Club. They opened up one more team. I think it may have already sold, but call Chip Greer, 901-482-5680. And get out on the square today. Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. Charles Hall, his wife Laura, Raven, everybody will be out there today. We're getting all the new brands in now. Pendleton, Schaefer, Hire, Vask. You know, Hire invented and came up with the cowboy boot years ago, and they've got them out there. They're the second largest Filson dealer in the southeastern United States. All the goods and services, the products coming in every day, over 7,000 pairs of boots. And folks, awesome looking women's clothes. I mean, my wife goes out there every month with me, and we go out there several times a month. And they've got awesome stuff. Ladies, boots, cowboy boots, women's wear, Old South, Devil Dog jeans. If you're a 34, you wear a 32. That's what you'll love about them, folks. And they've got Orca coolers. They've got socks. They've got everything. Filson luggage. They got the largest order they've ever made of Filson gear coming in, and it'll be arriving this week and the next week. But they've constantly got new gear coming in. Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company. And, hey, let's get ready to rumble. RumbleBoxingGym.com, 1835 Union Avenue, Midtown Memphis. Open every day of the week. Weekdays, they open around 5 o'clock in the morning. 48 people on those classes. Dumbbells, calisthenics, planks, dips, push-ups, you name it. It's awesome. There is so much going on right now. RumbleBoxingGym.com. You will get the best workout, 250-pound punching bags. You're going to have a blast. Frank, you are a marathon man. You're an Iron Man. You've already run into our brother, Chris Saxon, down there. Someone, he found a ticket on the street. But what's more fun? What's more fun than negotiating with some of the best and most aggressive salesmen in the world, the street ticket scalpers, which is, of course, legal in Alabama. And you know who the most famous ticket scalper I've ever known of all time? My man, Snake from Atlanta. I go, Snake, my niece lives up in Brookhaven. He goes, man, I don't live anywhere near there. He's Snake. His placard, his name tag that he wears around his shoulders, that you have to wear, just says Snake. He has no last name, whereabouts unknown, but Snake. You can always get a ticket from my man Snake when you're down looking for a game at Jordan. Who's the most famous scalper down there in Death Valley?
Well, the sad thing is that it's kind of a lost art form because now so many of the tickets are electronic and you have to go on the secondary markets to buy them. There's a lot of trust that has to come in when you're actually buying one electronic transfer from someone that right outside the stadium. There's a lot of, I think keep thinking of Ronald Reagan's trust but verify. Till you get into that stadium, you really don't quite know when you Venmo that money, right? So sadly, the days of holding up the fingers and holding up the tickets has really kind of sadly gone. I loved doing that. That was one of the funnest things. I actually would list that as a hobby. Wheeling and dealing in tickets outside of sporting events. Going back to my first Super Bowls. I mean, I love doing that. Probably one of the most famous scalpers, of course, was the dad from Christmas Story when he goes, the old man would trade like an Arab bazaar
at a bazaar in Beirut. he would go in there and haggle the guy for the Christmas tree. Remember that?
Right, that's right. Put some tie it to my car. You got a deal.
Yeah, we got a deal. He goes, but was there anything better though when Ralphie was helping his old man change the tire?
Oh, fudge.
The lug nuts were funny. He goes, oh, he goes, I said it. The mother of all, the big one.
Yeah.
What did you say? Get in the car.
Did you hear what your son said? It's kind of funny, man. I'll never forget one time, Rhonda and I, we had our son, Sean Patrick, when he was still kind of young.
That's a great Irish name, Sean Patrick.
Sean Patrick Duffy, right? And by the way, when you were talking about, the gym, the prize fighting workout, it's one of the greatest workouts. And those of us with Irish blood, I mean, I think at some point in time, we've all gone around or two, or wish we did, right? That's in our heritage, right? Our Scots-Irish heritage. But one time we were, saying or joking or doing something, and Rhonda accidentally dropped the F-bomb. And Sean Patrick, on the very first time he ever parroted it, said it. And I turned to and I pointed to her. I said, that's yours. You got to claim it. That one's on you. Now, mind you, he had heard it about 50 times from me during the LSU games or the Saints games, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Doug, how you doing, buddy?
What do you got there, Doug?
My segment sponsored by Charleston Bloody Mary.
Oh, there you go.
I like it, man.
How are you guys?
Good, sir. Good morning to you.
Hey, you know what? Today I shall dub SJGR Day. SJGR.
What's that?
Shit just got real.
Oh, Lord. Uh-oh, what happened?
No. I'm just saying, look at the games. The sub.
Oh.
I mean, it.
I thought you were going to do a Buddy Martin mic drop like last week.
No. You talk about, but besides that, I'm gonna have all eyes on Notre Dame, Ohio State, because I'm a closet Notre Dame fan. It happens. Cradle Catholic.
Hey, admitting there's a problem
below,
is the first step.
The Shamrocks.
My God, and then look at I was telling Rob on the show the other morning, football is a copycat game, and so much. The tree branches don't come very far from these great head coaches, coordinators. And so in Tuscaloosa, heck of a game. I can't wait for that drop. But you got, I guess, Pete Golden. Can we call him fired a year ago? You know how that works.
He was relocated.
Yeah. And, so he decided he preferred to be at Ole Miss, whatever. But there were very few Bama fans lamenting his departure. Meanwhile, so he gets to come back and he gets to face Reese that I doubt he's intimidated by Tommy Reese. And yet I don't know if Ole Miss has the horses. Meanwhile, Pete Golding himself was first hired and mentored by Ron Roberts, the DC at Auburn, who I think almost this entire game is on Ron Roberts to find a way with that creeper defense to cause at least a few mistakes by a great quarterback, Connor Wegman. So just drama all over the place. And you know what I'm calling today, Duffy? I can see it coming. Brian Kelly and LSU get to face Notre Dame in a playoff.
That would be interesting. I'd take it. I would take it.
Guys, throwing Notre Dame in there real quick. Got a lot of comments are coming in. Keep them coming in on YouTube. I'll type them in as fast as I can, texting, but subscribe to that YouTube channel. That way you can type them right in. A lot of people, one of my friends in Atlanta really knows football. Think about Sam Hartman, best quarterback in college football. Notre Dame, if they can get past Ohio State today for the first time since 1936, that's the last time they beat Ohio State. They have a very good path to the college football national championship.
Sure.
Would you all agree or disagree?
Agree.
Let's start with my Irish Catholic friend on top and my Irish Catholic friend on the bottom. No Notre Dame love here.
There's that good dog.
Yeah, I mean, Bailey is oblivious to the drama of college football today.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, man, hydrate yourselves, fans in Aggieville, College Station. It's going to reach 100 degrees third quarter.
And that's just under Jimbo's butt.
Oh,
I like that.
Hey,
keeping it real.
One of the things we all love to watch, and you get to see it with players, but especially with coaches. How do grown men making millions of dollars deal with pressure? I would say Jimbo Fisher has some pressure today. Do you agree, Duff?
Absolutely does. And he better keep his eyes on Bobby Petrino, make sure there's no airport tarmacs around. Because he might start feeling that stiletto right in the back of his shoulder blade. No, Jimbo's absolutely. And look, Rob will tell you, I made this call 2 weeks ago. I don't think he makes the season. I think old Buckles McHenry taps another well or two, and they come up with that $80 million, and they're done. I'm telling you, I think Petrino is waiting in the wings. You have another couple of bad losses, and I think he's done. I really do.
Are you saying there's going to be the Latin phrase uttered, et tu, Brute?
Et tu, Petrine, absolutely. And you know what? Petrino would kick his mother to the curb for a quarter. So believe me, there's going to be nothing held back. He's going to be whispering in every one of those boosters' ears. AD's going to be feeling it. So look, I got no love lost. Texas A&M made this bed. They can lay in it. They can lay in it.
When I write, we all have a team we love. Even the Reese Davises of the world, when they're in the privacy of their home, I'm sure there's a team they want to win. You can't help but be a fan. But
Alabama.
When I write to the Auburn family, I try not to. I know they want me to make them happy and call every game a win, but I've got to call balls and strikes. And my instinct is that this is sort of an ambush in College Station. Not that Auburn's not capable of winning. There's a reason the line, for all the pundits loving A&M, the line is only 7, which is always so they think Auburn, there is a pathway to Auburn win. It's just like there's more pathways with talent and the home crowd and everything else, for more pathways for the Aggies to win. So I think Auburn loses a close one there. If my goal were just to make Auburn people happy, I could open a 31 flavors ice cream, Duff, right? And I made pistachio.
That's what Nick Saban said. If you want to make people happy, just serve ice cream.
I'm a pistachio almond guy. What's your flavor, Duff?
Pralines and cream, man. Being a New Orleans guy, pralines and cream, fabulous.
Well, look, ego supplies all pressure. Jimbo feels kind of like yesterday's guest issue. Look, Owen Buchanan yesterday. We were having some fun on here, and love that guy, and you got a ton of respect for him. And I can assure you, Mark meant no ill will. Like they were talking about his niece. I've been around him. They at Christmas giving her, because she's an Aggie, and he had a brother that lived in Dallas who passed away 5 years ago, and Tennessee fan, and that's the big deal out there. The Texas A&M rivalry is intense. Yeah. And I have had knockdown dragouts the day before the Iron Bowl with really close Alabama friends. And Doug, you know this, and Frank, you know it. And boy, that you sit there and you go, wow, that was ridiculous. I mean, but you get fired up for the game. And it's hard to watch the Iron Bowl if you're an Auburn fan with an Alabama person. And in the case of Frank, that big rivalry, with LSU's got a lot of rivalries. I don't know if you just have one.
We don't.
That boot rivalry, that's not really a rivalry.
Contrived. It was contrived for TV is what it was. When they brought Arkansas in, they knew that they were not going to have anything with South Carolina. So they had to come up with another rival. And since we don't really have a natural rival, we've got lots of teams that we want to beat and that love beating us, but we just don't have that natural rival. So they were going to kill two birds with one stone. They came up with that Fakakta big giant boot, which nobody's bought into. Nobody really cares about it. And so they contrived it. Our more natural rival was Texas A&M, because we did have 10-year stretches with them where we play home and home going back, I think, to the 40s, actually. And so we had a natural rival with them. But as soon as Texas comes in, Texas A&M, of course, in Texas is the rivalry, and I'm sure they will regain their Thanksgiving positioning. I would think that would be the case. So I think we're going to be the free floater on the calendar. Hey, which is cool. Hey, look, we've never played Arkansas in September ever. Going back to all the even since when they came and the couple times we played them before. In fact, the Arkansas game is when we always go make our gumbos, because it's always either in November, at the very latest October, and so or at the Cotton Bowl, when we played them in like '66. So I think even in '64 as well. So we're normally it's a cold weather game. This is the warmest that we've ever played the Pigs. So look, Texas A&M. Their bugaboo, as soon as Texas comes into the league, their life has just gotten a lot tougher. So if Jimbo's been having a problem winning, and I think he's on his 7th year already. Like, it's something crazy.
6. Yeah.
Yes. This is beyond 1 or 2 full-length recruiting classes. So there are no more excuses. But when Texas comes in, man, it's going to get a lot tougher. That seat's going to get a lot hotter. And I'm telling you, I don't think he outlives, 2 losses this year, and Petrino pushing him off the cliff. I mean, we saw what, Petrino did to Tuberville. I mean, on the tarmac in at the loveliest village on the plain. I mean,
it was actually in Louisville where the plane landed.
Yeah. Hey, look, how many places did that meeting go on? That probably wasn't the first, and it wasn't the last, right?
Yeah.
So
you're right.
You got to think that Jimbo's time is numbered. He knows it. And, what's the old saying at the casino or at the poker tables? Scared money can't bet. And that's what he's dealing with. And look, if this game was in Jordan-Hare, it'd be Pickett. I think Auburn on paper, Auburn on a neutral field has every shot to beat Texas A&M in this game.
It will be interesting. I wanted to circle back, Rob, if you don't mind. I'm not a co-host on the show. I'm just a guest and a fake.
Oh, you're part of this team, just like Frank is. And know that. So feel free to walk around, take your seatbelt off.
I appreciate it. But I wanted to say, I hope Olin's listening. If not, maybe I can circle back on the archives. But, that we get overheated as fans. I'm guilty of it. And I hope that, the body of work for any of us that come on this show, including your Vol guest yesterday, Mark, is the body of work is class, and we're gentlemen. We don't mean any ill will toward each other, and there's a place for letting bygones be bygones. But in terms of the flammable word cult, let me tell you something. Auburn,
I know where you're going with this.
There's a sense in which we are a cult at Auburn. I mean, how many grown men and women would be throwing toilet paper in trees?
Yes.
So if you want to call us a cult, fine. You got to understand and pull the dictionary out, listeners. I'm not offending anybody, but as a cradle Catholic here, my Catholic church is a cult. But there's cults in a good sense of the word. If you build these traditions and you pass them generation to generation, and outsiders who hate you are not welcome. In that sense, cult can be a good thing. And I, for one, having been to College Station, love that fan base. They don't owe any of us an apology for whatever the hell their traditions are. And, we always poke fun at each other about different traditions. People like to claim that Auburn is confused. We have two mascots. We can't pick one. No, we don't care. LSU fans don't care what outside fan bases say about their traditions. And
I'd buy some corn dog cologne if it was on sale.
Amen. So
That's right.
I'm just one of the supporting cast on this great show, but I want to tell Olin he's a class act. I really appreciate content, and I hope he will find heart to move on and forgive what happened yesterday.
But you're right, Doug. You're absolutely right. The word cult has been more used around the Texas A&M program than any other program. And God love them. I love everybody's traditions. I will say though, their traditions are a little bit over the top. I mean, yell practice at midnight. It's I mean, God love it. Those candy stripers, those orderlies are on the
in the white pants. Yeah.
That's a nut house just waiting to break out with those orderlies running around. Last time I saw that much white on tops and bottoms, it was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and Jack Nicholson had the chief picking up that big concrete slab and throwing it out the window, man.
Yep. Oh my God.
I was curious. I love, as you probably noticed, I'm probably most fascinated with football coaches, not just head coaches, but coordinators, sometimes even position coaches that really matter in a particular game with matchups. But I'm always fascinated with the psychology of what's driving them. How are they more likely to be risk averse in a game or aggressive? Like Sarkisian, the way he beat Alabama, he came there prepared to go up in flames by being super aggressive in that game. And it won him the game because he knew that Saban was sitting and Reese were sitting over there. And because of their quarterback still being a work in progress, that was going to be unlikely that they would call an aggressive game. So he hit a couple of deep shots, even beat the great Kool-Aid McKinstry. But the psychology I'm most intrigued by today is Bobby Petrino's, and that is he's playing Auburn, a place that not once but at least twice he wanted to and was close to being head coach. And I don't think Bobby wants to come back or thinks realistically he could come back to Auburn now because the smart money is on Hugh Freeze having a pretty good run here. But I do wonder with, we all have a little ego, and ego gets a bad name. It's the first cousin of confidence stuff, right? And I think Bobby would feel a little special extra motivation to just send a little note to the powers that be at Auburn about how he can coach offensive football. That's why I just hope I'm wrong, but I think Hugh Freeze and this Auburn team, which I really like the progress they're making, especially Peyton Thorne, if he continues, and he's even running the ball a little. But I think we're playing A&M just about a week or two early. Does that make sense, Duff?
I think you could be right on that. I think with a couple of more weeks in Freeze's system, I think Auburn would have a lot more confidence going into the game. But don't forget, they went out to the West Coast and won a ball game. And look, I regardless of who the competition was, you go out there and you go cross country, and so at least they've gotten that under their belt. They haven't played the Sisters of the Poor, and Jordan Hare three times. So they've got that under their belt. But I'm telling you, like I said, going into the season, what Freeze has done, it's impressive. He's changed that culture very quickly. And I would think, look, I don't know anybody in the program on the inside, but you got to think that confidence is high in the building. And then you've got that us against the world mentality. Circle the wagons. We're going out to Aggie land, and I give Auburn a really good shot today. I really do. I mean, I'm not impressed by Texas A&M.
Here's Duff. It sounds like Duff is get that extra half point, Duff, 7.5.
I buy it up. And look, and you're right. I think that's a low number, and that's the bookmakers telling you that, hey, look, they're not sold on Texas A&M, and yeah, they did beat John's ULM team, pretty soundly. I did take the Warhawks in the points. I thought they would keep it closer. Again, they only lost by one score, but loss is a loss. But I think Texas A&M is going to have all they want with Auburn today. And if Auburn goes on the road and plays a good ball game, and it pulls this victory out, it's a different. I mean, Auburn's going to go into October with a lot of confidence. And by the way, if that happens, oh my gosh, will College Station be on DEFCON 5?
Oh, easily. I think
tonight.
you mean DEFCON 1. But
yeah, going the other way. That's right.
That's right. You need to watch the movie War Games.
It goes down, not up.
Joshua, what are you doing, Joshua?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So, yeah, I think, and imagine Rob and Duff, as if Jordan-Hare isn't hot and rabid on a football Saturday, but with the twice defending national champion Bulldogs coming to town.
That would be huge coming in with a win.
Auburn is 4-0 facing Georgia. I'm not saying they can win, but it will get really interesting in Jordan-Hare.
Well, Doug, we saw that Georgia is vulnerable. I had South Carolina in the points last week, and let me tell you something. If Georgia doesn't make the adjustments that, frankly, Beamer did not make, and that was I was really kind of disappointed on how they came out in that second half and looked so flat. I mean, you got to think, hey, look, Georgia's going to figure it out. Kirby's no dum-dum, right? They're going to make adjustments and do it really well. But I think Georgia is hateable. I don't know if it's Auburn that gets them, but Georgia didn't look like the Georgia of the last 2 years to me last week against South Carolina.
I agree. And then to be fair to Kirby, my God, there's a reason that you have to go back to the damn 1930s to find a 3 Minnesota.
And it really technically wasn't a three-peat the way, if you look at it. And this is what's crazy. Appreciate the comment from Maury. You guys are crushing it today, and you're making great points. And I'll throw this at you. Matt Dean just texted me from Eugene, Oregon. His son Tyler's on Dan Lanning's staff. Yeah. He's going to join us in about 34 minutes live from Eugene.
Ooh, that's 5:30 in the morning.
I know.
Love him out there.
Hey, he is hardcore. I mean,
them Iowa boys get up early.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Matt is always going to be the coach. I mean, he is just – I love this guy. And, this is something interesting. And I like, Shoney, hey, West Coast trip was good practice trip for Auburn. But I think the best one I've seen so far this morning from Arnold Ziffel. Remember him, Green Acres? In Bainbridge, Georgia, Hogs will shock the world tonight in Death Valley. Well, who else would Arnold Ziffel, the pig, pull for but the Razorbacks? Woo!
Back down, pork chop.
Sooty. I mean, you got to love that. And look, both of y'all, and I love what you say, Doug. You're making so many good points. And I'm with Doug that Auburn may be playing A&M a week or two too early, but Auburn football needs to reclaim its collective spirit and soul, which was lost in that game when 6-2 Auburn ranked 12th in the country in Potato Head's first season, 2021. The wheels fell off in the fourth quarter and Auburn lost like 20-3. Going out there and winning that game where Auburn is 4-1 all time would be huge. Now, the 11 a.m. start, guys, typically favors the visiting team. But I referenced Doug's great chronicling in the AU Dose this week, all the things. If there's anything Freeze needs to do, Doug, it is what psychologically with this team to the public?
I think first of all, I wrote that because I'm very excited about Hugh Freeze being in Lee County and the way he's recruiting, and I believe in this staff. He might, when the season ends, might replace one or two coaches, because think about it. He gets hired and he had to really rapidly cobble together.
Sure.
I like almost all the moves he made. I'm not going to name any coach. We're still playing football, but I think today, more than anything else, I didn't like Coach Freeze reminding us that A&M has more 5-stars than us. We already know that. We're a pretty high IQ for all of our weirdness, and at Auburn, we're a pretty high IQ football fan base, like almost every team in the SEC. We already know the talent gap, but the talent gap is not Vanderbilt playing Alabama, for God's sake. And so I think because of Pat, any other coach, modern
Frank,
era,
did you? I did not know you still work for the sanitation department in Baton Rouge. Is that you?
The beer truck just showed up outside.
Okay.
So
Doug, carry on, my wayward friend.
Finishing my point, we roll on here amid vehicles in reverse, whatever it takes. But so I think what Auburn it's okay to lose a competitive game at College Station today. That happens. Hell, it happened to LSU in Tallahassee, happened to Alabama at home. And this is one of those years where I don't know that we'll have a single undefeated team. But I'll say this. What Auburn fans need to see from Hugh Freeze is bravado, moxie. We call the game. Don't call the game scared like we did offensively out at Cal. I hated that. Like, we're going to run the ball first and second down because we're scared we want to mitigate risk, and you give Peyton Thorne a third and impossible, and then all of a sudden the Cal blitz is coming. You cannot do that against Shamar Turner, that number 5 for the Aggies coming off the edge. You better be willing to take risk and put the ball in Peyton Thorne's hands on early downs, get some tempo going, try to fatigue that defense, and then make it a game. I will say this. If you get it to late third quarter and it's still a 1-score game, advantage Auburn, because see what pressure does to grown men on the Aggie sideline.
Doug, hold that thought. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Great stuff. Dave Tompkins just checked in with a pot of low country stew on the stove over in Beaufort, South Carolina, home of the Shamrocks, the famous Marine Fighter Squadron. Arr! The Black Knights of the Hudson is his team. And there goes Stedman Shealy. That's brought to you by Bromberg's Jewelers throughout the great state of Alabama. We'll be right back with the Crimson Tide football. I'll never forget when John Forney came back for that 1 year in 1988. He opened up by saying, "It's great to look out here and begin the 1948 Alabama 1988. Hey, I'll be right back. One of the great broadcasters of all time after this.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.
I'm back here with you, and that is a new sponsor of ours. Really proud to be associated with Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking. My friend up in Nashville, that is a nonprofit she's heavily involved with, and she and her son are flying this morning to College Station. Going to get there at 10:40. Got 20 minutes to catch a ride, to Kyle Field, but they're huge Auburn fans, great people, and they're sponsoring the Auburn Report, brought to you by, when we have Doug on the show, the AU Dose. She goes, I will sponsor that Auburn Report. So, Doug, thank you for bringing in the great people. And that is R.A. Dickey, an alumnus of MBA up in Nashville, who is their spokesman. But they're doing great work. Get involved in that. Doug, you know Dave Tompkins. There goes Stedman Chile.
Yeah, I love it.
Say it, Tompkins.
Calvin Culliver.
Hey, I've got Dave. You're good to see you, Dave. I'm so glad Dave came on. Arguably one of the most intriguing games today is in T-Town at 2:30. But I got to put a question to Dave, which fascinates me. I'm into coaching psychology. So if the Bama friends I know, and one of them's my son-in-law, that really follow this closely, a year ago, and really since maybe the last several years, there was no lamentation about Pete Golding departing Tuscaloosa, Dave. And now, so he comes back to town, and I would think some Alabama fans, probably not all of them that really are smart, are saying to themselves, what better way to get well on offense than to play a Pete Golding defense, right?
Let's hope.
Dave, what do you think?
Let's hope. Let's hope he doesn't, disguise coverages today. Jalen has a tough time with that, with disguise coverages. But I feel pretty good about today. If I'm a betting man, I'm gonna take Bama -7. I know everyone's on the other side of that.
Not me.
But I feel pretty good about the Tide today.
The reason you should, Alabama. I mean, Kiffin's got to show us that he can beat one of his mentors. And Alabama typically in this game, they just smash mouth and overpower Ole Miss. I look for exactly that. I bet you see 12 to 15 designed Milroe runs today.
Yeah. I think lots of quarterback draws or just student body Milroe. And his greatest asset are his legs, and then I think that'll maybe open up some things, and he'll get a couple long throws in the second half. Yeah, I feel good about this. I don't see Nick losing to Lane in his career. I think he's just too much.
Well, and not going 0-2 on the reclamation project tour either.
Absolutely,
this is the second reclamation that he's going to have to face. And after saving Sark's career, pulling him out of the ash can, he did the same with Lane. We'll see what happens. I see him going 1-1 in these. I think Alabama takes care of business.
Yep.
Just when you think he's buried, the hand comes out of the grave with Saban. Until you put the stake in him, he's never done. So I think Lane's going to have his hands full. I think Ole Miss, I watched Ole Miss play Tulane. I was in that stadium, and Tulane very easily could have won that game with a backup quarterback. Frankly, should have won the game. They let it get away. So I think Alabama's going to come back out as Alabama and put a thumping on Ole Miss.
Yeah, and you know what? I think I will just about guarantee you, I don't know how it will go, but Dave, you've heard the famous line that when a defense sends a sellout blitz, somebody's band is going to play.
I never heard that. That's good.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
that's
I don't know.
being original.
I don't know what song's being played, but somebody's going to be tuning up.
I'm telling you, somebody's band. I don't know if Ole Miss is bringing their pep band or what, but here's what I think. Golding has absolutely no alternative to do, especially first half. If he's looking at Milroe and knows that, man, if this kid throws one interception, even if it gets tipped and it's not even his fault, that's going to be very mentally hard for everybody to deal with, starting with the coaching staff, but even Milroe. So what does Golding do? He's got to come up certain third downs. If they can get Alabama to third and more than, say, 7 or 8 yards, then the house is coming. And the call that Reese has got to be willing to make is a deep shot, because it's going to be man coverage on those, I think, very good Alabama receivers. And that who wins those coverage battles may go a long way to deciding this game.
All bets are off if he throws an early pick.
Hey, this one for Dave Tompkins. This was a request on a text. I'll just play it for you.
All right. The Army team's the pride team of every heart and grain.
Love it.
The Army line, you'll never find a terror in the fray.
And by the way, Texas A&M,
great fight song. I mean, that's the West
the
Point
Army
fight
team.
song.
And by the way, Texas A&M, those guys are the real McCoy.
Yeah,
Army's the real McCoy.
I don't care if they're a cult or weird. I love the Aggies fan base. They were never nicer when I visited.
Oh
there.
yeah, they're incredible
fan base. I mean, they almost think, man, are you trying? Is this somebody trying to pull one over? You're so nice. Come to my tailgate and hang out. It must be a trick. Is somebody going to hit me over the head and take my wallet? No, they're just a great culture.
They really are.
And I don't know what contingent of Auburn people are there today, but I hope they're hydrating. It's going to be 100 degrees.
Well,
now, wait, hey, I got to ask you now. I heard you kind of say something, Doug, about yesterday. Was there a comment that might have gone out to the Texas Ag side?
Yeah,
that I'm not privy of. That
it was on Rob's show. I don't want to reiterate the entire transcript. Let's just say that a guest on the show of Tennessee Vol persuasion probably has some regrets, which we all grown men, we make mistakes, and he went a little farther than describing the A&M quote cult.
Yeah, well, and it was all in good fun, and he felt terrible. He's invited Olin to come to his tailgate up in Knoxville. Look, and also to all of our Alabama fans out there that are listening today, it's a beautiful Saturday, 4th weekend of the season. Let's do this one in honor of the childhood team of Dave Tompkins. There you go.
Why are you doing this to us, Rob?
There goes Stedman Sealy.
It's a stride. Go teach the Bulldogs. What a day! It's
hey,
normally
way,
it's Savant Saturday in East Arkansas, but today is kind of schizophrenia Saturday. I mean, every time slot there's like 8 good games on.
Hey, I know that Dave's such an intellectual, and I really mean that, Dave. I can tell you're an elite. You have a good mental engine, an agile, quick mind, but I don't care what team you pull for. Not all of our fan bases have an agile, quick mind. And if you're ever at a party and people are having a few pops and there's a good Alabama contingency, there's a bet. I've never lost this bet. And I will challenge my Alabama friends after a couple of bourbons to tell me all the lyrics to the Alabama fight song. Most of them can't do it.
Oh,
they choke.
Remember the Rose Bowl will win. That's.
Hey, by the way, most of them can't find an Alabama classroom either, but that remains to be seen.
All right, Duffy's taking the gloves off here.
Well, let me say this.
When I was a kid, I spent my early childhood years in Kansas City, and then we moved back to Birmingham. 4th grade, went to my first Alabama game. Alabama versus Cal. Alabama won 66-0 in Legion Field. And my dad handed me a program, and he said, you have a photographic memory. So by next week, you have to have this entire program memorized. You mean all the players and their numbers? I've already got that memorized. He goes, nope, players, numbers, height, weight, how many letters, where they went to high school.
Hey, that reminded me. I got to tell y'all about it. Of all things, a good Auburn guy like me, who, when I was in high school, Alabama was playing, I think it was Ohio State in the Liberty Bowl. Does that ring a bell?
Liberty Bowl. Let's see. They played
Alabama?
Ohio State in the Sugar Bowl.
No.
Yeah.
It was
77.
PLA.
Yeah.
But anyway, my friend of mine was a big Bama guy, and he and his dad had this great entrepreneurial idea. We were going to get rich quick by having a bunch of Alabama hats made, like several thousand of them, and we got the license, and our job was to go sell these hats at the Liberty Bowl. And hats. Well, guess a funny thing happened in Memphis, of all places, Rob's hometown. And it was cold as a well digger's ass in Siberia, and these other entrepreneurs came in with these warm toboggans.
Y'all are done.
That was either the Liberty Bowl. Bama played UCLA
Illinois
there, I think, and won 36-0.
1976.
And then they played Illinois in Coach Bryant's last game.
Bears last 15.
Yeah,
a little bit of savant trivia here. 1976 Liberty Bowl. That was a crazy time. Dad was designing some stuff, the tennis complex and the Sam Bailey track and field complex at Alabama. So he's working with Coach Bryant. Not really. He was the AD in name, but Sam Bailey really ran things. So Mr. Bailey, Coach Bailey, got us 4 sideline passes for that game. It was 9 degrees, and I was in like 7th grade or whatever. I'll never forget Alabama's players, and UCLA was a prohibitive favorite.
Right.
Alabama's players came out in cutoff jerseys with the sleeves cut off in the warm-ups and psyched UCLA out. I think Alabama won 38-6. And after the game, they took me to the locker room, and Coach Bailey said, and my dad said, now look, Coach Bryant's over there. There he is. He walked outside the locker room, had about 6, hit one of those Arctic hoods that came out, about 3 feet. And he goes, and you can see this puff of smoke from the Chesterfield coming out. And he goes, go over there and introduce yourself and shake his hand. So I walked over there, and I'll just never forget. He was a behemoth of a man. It's at least 8 feet tall to me. And he just goes, he shook my hand. He goes, hey, and that's what I remember, the translation, the subtitles. But Doug, correction, I put on there that Doug Dean would join us live from Eugene, Oregon in the top of the second hour. And so Chris Saxon puts on there, Doug took the Greyhound so he'd arrive on time. It's Matt Dean, folks. My apologies.
That is beautiful. I would love to be there, all except for the 100-degree weather. But honestly, that Dave, I gotta say, which is a left-handed compliment to the great Coach Bryant. I think about 30% of his wins, they won before the damn kickoff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He just, the intimidation factor of not only the great teams, and some of them, honestly, they were not what we would call 4 and 5 stars in every case today. They certainly had some of those, their share of them, but they just worked harder than everybody, and they built depth, and that wishbone would just overwhelm you. They'd just come at you in waves. But it was Bear Bryant, that aura of that big figure, that iconic figure. I think a lot of teams was one of them during Barfield's era. We lost the game. Teams lose the game.
A couple of Auburn teams that lost had so much more talent. I've mentioned this on the show a bunch of times, but when you have Cribbs, Brooks, and Andrews in the same backfield, and you can't win the national championship.
And it was the numbers. It was like the Chinese army coming in the Korean War. It was like, where did all these people come from? That's what Bear Bryant had. Bear Bryant was stacking his recruits, your recruits. There had to be like 200 people on an Alabama sideline back in the day.
Yeah.
I used to love in the warm-ups when he'd be leaning against the goalpost, and you'd look at the other team, and they'd be looking at him and like, okay, game's over. Yeah.
I was in the Sugar Bowl in 1973 when Alabama played Notre Dame for the national championship. Won against
Tulane Stadium.
Yeah, I was. Not the Super Tulane Stadium. I was sitting right there on the corner of the end zone. My uncle was a police officer, and he used to walk me into the games for free, and I'd stand right there by the bandstand. And I will tell you, Paul Bear Bryant didn't move from that goalpost for the 30 minutes that the pre-games were going on. He didn't move. And it was so cool. After the game, I walked over, and there were still crushed Chesterfields on the AstroTurf by that goalpost. I swear to God, we walked to leave. We went across because it's much easier walking with him on the because he had to go to the other exit. we would walk on the field, and I can still see those crushed Chesterfields.
I used to love on the Bear Bryant show on Sunday afternoon, Charlie Thornton and Coach Bryant, and they had the sponsors were Coke and Golden Flake, and they had the big, bucket of bowl of Golden Flake potato chips. You see the cigarette smoke coming out from behind the Golden Flakes.
And that's why, people, fans will say, why does Auburn or Tennessee tear the goalposts down or rush the field when they beat Alabama? You know why? Because it means something to beat Alabama. It's hard as hell to beat Alabama when they've got it rolling. That means something.
Yeah. Well, interesting thing here. Alabama was usually up 10-0 with Coach Bryant, especially in the latter years. And as Coach Dye said, the last couple of years up there, he had that thing on autopilot. He'd cut out of practice early and head up there to Northport to the yacht club, having a couple of hotties, and everything was good. And then he stepped down. But what's really cool, you go back into this history, and I'm like, Dave and I read program. I took a program over to my dad from the Auburn UMass game the other day. He will study that. He's 95. He will study everybody on that raw. He'll know every one of them. And then he'll ask me later today, boy, what games are on TV today? I'm like, Dad, go to footballschedules.com. Hopefully he'll do that.
I can tell you every vital statistic of Major Ogilvy only because he was there 11 years.
Yeah. My friend Boyd named his lab Major after Major Ogilvy.
Paulette Carruth, and Johnny Musso were there like 1,000 years combined.
All right, listen, idiot savant time. Paulette Carruth was from Sumner, Mississippi.
Number 16.
Yeah, and then Johnny Musso went to Banks High School in Birmingham, didn't he? Went to Banks?
Too?
No, the Rutledges went to Banks. Tony Nathan went to Woodlawn. I'm not recalling where Johnny Musso went.
But he was number 22, wasn't he?
Yeah, yes.
I think wasn't Musso Banks?
I'm pretty sure Musso
might have been
was
Banks. Okay, because Gary and Jeff Rutledge also went to Banks.
Now, y'all are both Birminghamologists, Doug and Dave, both from Birmingham. Woodlawn High School, they're more famous people. Bobby Bowden, Chris Davis, David Langner, Greg Gant, the punter, famous to Auburn people. But
Tony Nathan.
Tony Nathan.
Rob.
Yeah.
Another 22.
Carlos,
Chris Davis.
Yeah. And also another one we don't forget, Greg Carr, linebacker at Auburn, now an orthopedic surgeon in Birmingham. And
so, Bobby Humphreys from there too?
Body?
No.
Wasn't he a Birmingham kid?
God. Yes, he was. He sold coats at Legion Field. Yes, but he didn't go to Woodlawn, did he?
I don't think so. I'm going to say like Jackson Owen or Parker or something like that.
I think he was over that part of Birmingham. I agree, Dave.
Major Ogilvy went to Mountain Brook.
Yes, he did. I've got to do this for Frank, just because I know we hurt his feelings a minute ago. Frank, here we go. Here we go, Frank.
The 4 greatest notes ever performed in music history.
Here we go, Frank.
That's the money shot. That's the money shot. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
I like the Chinese bandits. That's my favorite thing of LSU.
That's
hey,
right.
That is the best.
Rob, it's a crisp fall morning in Birmingham. I'm loving this weather. And for some reason, after that song, there's the smell of corn dogs is wafting.
All right, good. Frank, you going to get mad about that? Come on now.
No. Hey, all I remember is we went to Alabama in 2009, and I must have not got the memo. So it must have been said on like some radio show or something. Well, it was the game the only game I was in Tuscaloosa that I saw Bama beat LSU. I didn't actually go to the game, so my record stayed intact. We didn't go in. We stayed at the RV because we couldn't get tickets. The kids were young. And so I kept looking around in the RV park, and they had these trees, and like there were corn dogs hanging everywhere. I was like, what the hell's going on here? And like I didn't get the memo. I didn't know that somebody in 2009, and then of course Katy Perry like a year or two later when game day was in Ole Miss, had like a plate of corn dogs. I'm like, honey, We might smell like etouffee, jambalaya, gumbo, even a good beignet. I assure you, we don't smell like
No, you don't.
That's the last shit we smell like.
Duff, I've told you time and again, I've caught some grief from my Auburn buddies that if I should ever be either expelled from the Auburn family or decide I need to go,
You coming over?
I'm headed to Baton Rouge, baby.
Well, Frank, I was destined to be an LSU fan, and a month before school started, Dad was going to be a preferred walk-on kicker on the football team and study landscape architecture, and then a slot. He was on the list. Wow. You're on the list at Auburn for architecture school opened, and then 3 of his friends loaded up in some old, I don't know, Edsel or whatever, and went down to Auburn, and he introduced the cotton poplin suit at Auburn. He sold him when he was a KA down there, and the cotton bowl tie from Alfred's men's store. And he was the number 2, and Dr. Martin was the number 1. And one time during Old South Week, his horse, something inspired his horse, took off like Paul Revere's Midnight Ride all through town. They finally wrestled it on the lawn of the president's house, and he actually had a date or two with President Ralph Draune's daughter. He said that was hard because you better treat her right and get her home before 10 o'clock.
And you know how good comedy always is in circles? I know Richard Lipsy, one of the biggest donors at LSU, he's a friend of mine. His family owned Haspel, which was the seersucker suits and the poplin suits that were made in New Orleans, Haspel Company. And that's where he got those to sell those. Those were the seersuckers and the poplins.
Yeah, I mean, that's a cool story. I love that. Yeah.
Before I cut out, we're hosting a baby shower for the sweet Marianne K. I love these kids have nicknames. May. We call her Kate's baby shower at 11. And luckily, I get to be in the man cave with one of my 2 grandsons, Jack. Cool. And it's a little tricky because Jack's father is a proud Alabama fan. He's been on the show, Kyle. And Mama is an Auburn grad. So I'm going to try to be courteous, and I will not put an Auburn hat on poor little
the hand who rocks the cradle rules the world. Yeah. You got free reign for the next 5 hours, brother. Yeah, go to work.
Dave,
when is LSU gonna name their media school in honor of Joe Dean Sufferino in Baton Rouge, Louisiana?
Oh God, I love it.
Hey, but Dave, before I cut out Dave and Duff, I really mean this. I want Alabama to win today. I want LSU to keep both those 2 teams to keep winning because college football and all of us down here in the South, we deserve a big dramatic game when LSU comes to Tuscaloosa.
And I want Auburn to absolutely thump Texas A&M.
We'll do what we can. Hey, guys.
Hey, Doug, look, let's get you back on Monday or Tuesday, beginning of the week. Okay, let's do this. Now, and just in fairness to the fight songs, because these requests are coming in, here's another one. I love that. You know who that is, don't you? That's Ole Miss. Now they used to play Dixie, but I mean they don't play it anymore.
That is the sanitized version of Ole Miss.
Yeah,
we all remember the real version of Ole Miss.
Hey, let me. Hey, I got to tell you, man. I like what Maury. Back in the day, I had a couple of Haspel suits. But it's funny. Dad said when he got to Auburn in the early '50s, nobody had cotton poplin suits, and so Alfred's men's store in Memphis, that and the cotton bowl tie. And he, I tell you what, he was a KA down there at Auburn and was down there for 5 years in the architecture program. He walked on briefly in football and said, I'm up here all night in Dudley Hall studying architecture. And at 5 o'clock in the morning, the coaches come in here to wake us up for football. And he goes, I was good, but not that good. When Irk Russell would come in there and, Shot Shin and Coach Jordan. Coach Jordan had been in the Army, fought in North Africa against Rommel, landed at Sicily, fought there, was wounded at Utah Beach, 6 June 1944, got hit with a frag of an 88 millimeter German gun, and 4 days later wandered into a field hospital there. And they said, sir, you got blood all over the side of your face. You got an injury. We're going to have to take a look at that. Why didn't you get help right away? Shug Jordan from Selma, Alabama, James Ralph Jordan, said, well, sir, I'm a combat engineer, and I graduated from Auburn, and we had a job to do. We had to build a road so our boys could get up that hill and win this deadgum war. And they said, well, we want you to keep living. Can we do surgery? And they said when Shug was being operated on, before they put him under, one of the doctors was from Mobile, was also an Auburn grad. And they started talking about the 1942 Auburn 27-13 win over the number 1 ranked Rose Bowl bound Georgia Bulldogs. He said, I damn near bled to death on the operating table talking about Auburn football. You can't make this stuff up. Okay, look. Oh, Matt Dean is with us. The Bhagwan.
Good morning, gentlemen. On the West Coast.
It's not even light. This is our first nighttime visitor on Sidelines. Delta the dog says, it is Matt Dean, my friend. Hey, I put up there a minute ago, Doug Dean joins us, and Saxon puts on there, is Doug taking the Greyhound? If he is, he'll miss the game. He'll get there Tuesday. Let's take a quick commercial break. Matt Dean from Davenport, Iowa. Reel them off, boys and girls, the Quad Cities. Moline, Bettendorf, Rock Island, and Davenport. Isn't that it?
That's right.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back for HR-2. For those of you that live north of the Mason-Dixon line, that's a second hour. We'll be right back after this.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4 City exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
And here, Frank Duffy, the mobile correspondent. You know, what I love about this is the mobile correspondence. Now, out of respect to Matt Dean, our first ever, not even daylight out there in Oregon. It's 7:02 in the a.m. on the West Coast. Here we go. Let's play this one. I love that.
Now, which one is that, Rob? Is that Oregon?
That is Mighty Oregon. Mighty Oregon.
Let's go Ducks.
The Ducks. Well, I've got my fight song for them. Do people blow duck calls there at Autzen Stadium, spelled Autzen in Eugene, Oregon? Matt?
You know, Rob, I was here for the and good morning, everyone. It's great to be on, even though it's a little earlier Pacific time. But I was here for the UCLA game last year, and you know, it's a nice stadium. It's not the size of most SEC venues because it holds around 60.
Yeah.
But man, it's really loud.
It's loud, yeah.
And quite frankly, it's a great. I mean, if you look at historically, their home field record is tremendous. But just like a lot of SEC traditional programs at home, right? So, you know, this game is taking on a national narrative because all the hype going around the Colorado program and Coach Sanders, and he's done a tremendous job. But I will remind you, 2 of their 3 wins have been against Nebraska and Colorado State. So this is, you know, we're going to find out in the line of scrimmage if they're ready to play. I just saw a stat, Rob. Since 1936, the Pac-12 is only the second conference to have 8 teams in the AP top 25 that are all 3-0. So conference play starts. The Pac-12 right now is up there with the other major conferences in terms of quality of depth. Like today, we also got USC and Utah. I mean, UCLA and Utah. I'm sorry. And Washington State and Utah. So there's some big games, as there are in the SEC. So I'm really intrigued by a couple games in the SEC today. I'm really intrigued about Auburn going to A&M, Rob. I'm kind of curious if they can win on the road today. What's your thoughts?
I think it's going to be a tough one, but they can. Like Doug Dean was just on in the first half and just got off about 5 minutes ago. If Auburn can keep it close going into the fourth quarter, they've got to cut the turnovers down. They've got a chance. With the strength of A&M, the weakness of A&M, they struggle in the red zone. The strength of Auburn is they're great in the red zone. Now, they haven't played an offense like a Bobby Petrino offense, but I expect, in the interest of full disclosure, Auburn graduate, I expect to win every game. I have never, ever thought Auburn was going to lose a game. I can tell you how they can lose it, but you know what? I believe in confidence. I believe in confidence that if you're going fishing for Moby Dick, you stop at Costco and get extra tartar sauce on the way. That's the kind of confidence that I've always got. If you don't have that, you can't do it. And I'm going to tell you that, this is Dave Tompkins right here, Matt, from over in the Low Country, South Carolina, West Point graduate from Mountain Brook, a lifelong Alabama fan, grew up listening to John Forney. There's Tony Nathan in the end zone again, the Woodlawn product there from Legion Field, brought to you by Bromberg Jewelers throughout the great state of Alabama. Listening, Jay Evers listening right now down there in Birmingham. And then, of course, Frank Duffy, go Tigers, $17.5 million buyout. Find me where the door is. I'll go. That's enough money to buy a hamburger. By the way, Frank, I got to say this to you, Matt and Dave. Frank, Rouse's grocery store. We were down in Orange Beach, September 6th to the 11th. Went to Rouse's every day. Those crawfish empanadas, the meat pies.
That's the best grocery store in the world.
Frank, can you give us a good idea? You say that about every 3 seconds when you're cooking.
Let's not forget about the Quad Cities, made famous in one of my favorite Saturday Night Live skits. Dan Aykroyd playing Fred Garvin, male prostitute.
Oh,
Margot Kidder was the guest. It was an absolutely brilliant scene.
He gets up there and he goes, "Ma'am, you're spending the night with me." He goes, I wear the
Fred Garvin.
She goes, he goes, I wear the hat, the shoes, the coat, and the glasses. You're spending the night with me. Fred Garvin, male prostitute. And he goes, this one I call the snake. When he was,
I call this one the snake.
Yeah.
Enough foreplay. Let's get cracking.
Yeah. Enough foreplay. Dave, Matt was women's basketball coach at Rhodes College for 16 years. Served also many years
Memphis.
Yeah, with Herb Hildegren on the men's side. And so, he's got a son, Tyler, is on the staff with Dan Lanning out at Oregon. And, he's got another son who does what I do in addition to this show. Matt, we got Doug Dean. We have Frank Duffy, Dave Tompkins, everybody listening. You talk about 60,000. That venue, though, the way they designed it architecturally from an engineering and architecture, it just goes down. It traps the noise. My dad, I think, was telling me once you get past about 60,000 seats in a stadium, the noise isn't that much better way up high. It all comes in that core 50 to 60. And you look at those Gothic type stadiums. I'll tell you another one, Kansas State. My God, that's a tough place to play. But you've been around the country. You've seen a lot of stadiums. Talk about that atmosphere. Are the Hare Krishna monks and all the Bhagwan people out there dancing? And is it pretty crazy out there?
Growing up in Iowa, moving to Memphis, Tennessee, being in the South for 3 decades, and coming up here, guys, this is a little bit different. But I will tell you, architecturally, you're spot on. And I told my buddy, my son's godfather, Rob Scott, who made the trip with me, and that's why it's a little dark in the back because it's still very early here. It reminds me a little bit of Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City. Kinnick, when I was growing up as a kid, was in the 60,000s, and now it's around 70. But it's close to the field. Honestly, when we were here last year, it was a month later, and it was a lot chillier. It was raining that day. But today it's supposed to be 68 and nice out. It's been gorgeous weather. Just really intrigued about the matchup because I think at this time, when you're in conference play, you probably haven't shown everybody everything you've got in your playbook. Though Oregon had to do that to win the game against Texas Tech 2 weeks ago. And I think, last week they got the taste of a rivalry game. I'm not sure they expected what they were going to get from Colorado State, but, man, they got everything. And then I'm real intrigued in the SEC now. After the first game where I think the second half Tiger fans were disappointed, right now you got to say what they did to Mississippi State last year.
Yeah,
LSU
last
was
week.
like the clear favorite in the West to me. But obviously you still got everything. Still is going to come down to probably a few games, and one of them is going to be LSU. Playing at Bama, and obviously LSU A&M the last game can mean something too. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you
LSU
saw what
seems to
happened
be the
last
only
year.
complete team in the West.
Yeah, I agree.
Frank, I'm going to throw this at you. Last year, inexplicably, at the end of the season, LSU looked like they were on a gravy train, with biscuit wheels. They go in to College Station to an A&M team on the heels of 6 straight losses, and they left there on 4 bald tires with no insurance. It was ugly.
The complete beatdown. A-Chain just took over the game. I mean, it was an incredible performance by a running back. I think we were also kind of spent. That was a gauntlet that we had to run, and especially after beating Alabama. And you could kind of see it in that Arkansas game. Yeah, we won the game in Arkansas. KJ didn't play. And so, in fact, Harold Perkins, I think, single-handedly won that game for us. You can kind of see it. We forensically looking back at it, it wasn't that big of a surprise having to go to College Station. And so that didn't surprise me, honestly. I think this year it's a little bit different, being in the second year in the program. We had our first stumble again, Florida State, just like we did last year. But we looked fantastic last week. I mean, I was very pleased with how we played. You could kind of see the offensive was coming around. The Grambling game, we had 10 offensive possessions, scored 10 touchdowns. I mean, even against air, you got to be executing to be able to do that. So I kind of felt good. I feel good about our chances tonight. I think we handle Arkansas pretty easily. The boys in the desert kind of think that as well. 17-point favorites. You never look ahead. You got to handle your business now. But it does shape up very interestingly. Missouri, Ole Miss, and Auburn, the next 3. Now, if you come out of that, then you have Alabama. It could get real interesting at that point.
One thing I'm going to be curious about in the 3:30 Eastern slot is, across the country, will more eyeballs be watching Alabama Ole Miss, or will more eyeballs be watching the game in Eugene?
Eugene.
I think Eugene, yeah.
And I'm going to tell y'all something, and I'm getting a lot of questions coming in here, and I like this one. The interwebs, as Al Gore calls it, allows you to pick up listeners everywhere. Within 30 days of starting this show, Nigel, our webmaster, said, you've got listeners in 48 different countries. And I'm sure, as he's military background, he says they're all expats and they're other military people. I like this one that just came in. I don't know who this guy is, if that's his real name or not, but I love it. From John Paul Jones in Medford, Oregon. I almost applied for a TV job out there right out of college, the TV station. It's south. I think it's between Eugene and Portland.
Yeah.
Kudos to Matt Dean for reporting live from ground zero of college football. Let's put this in perspective. Your son is in that meeting room. Tyler is going to be one of these coaches. We're all going to be trying to get back down south eventually, but he's with Dan Lanning, who spent a lot of time with Coach Saban. And I'm going to say, I'm with Frank. You just said it. All eyes. This is crazy. Say what you want about Deion. I think he's 2 people. He's a real introverted, shy guy that is born again. And again, I hope he's sincere in that. I believe he is. But I don't know him. But if anything, he's getting a lot of eyeballs on college football. But God, George Kliavkoff ought to have to give that money back as commissioner of the Pac-12 for letting this happen. Guys, they're having the best year they've had in memory. It's so sad. But you know what? College football is healthy all over the country. And, Matt, that ain't nothing but a good thing. True or false?
No, it is. And Frank's right. It's so great that the focus is going to be on this game today. Because Colorado was at all-time low last year, guys. You know that. They were terrible.
1-11.
And, one thing I'll give Coach Sanders credit for, and you can see it when you watch some of the sidelines and they shoot to the staff, he's hired a couple terrific coordinators, right? So Coach is the ultimate hype man. He always has been. Arguably, him and Bo Jackson, the two greatest two-sport athletes we've ever seen. He even said in a recent interview the hardest thing he's ever done is try to hit a baseball. I mean, I know I can relate to that. Probably all of us can at some point in our lives. But I think today's really, really interesting, though, because, at the end of the day, this is the most locked. I got here Thursday. Oregon staff, they haven't said anything all week, but respect for Coach Sanders and their team. They are ready to play, guys. They are locked in. Now, I know it's a big number on the line, and not that I do those type of things. I don't.
Of course.
I think Oregon is locked. And I think they know the world's going to be watching, Frank, and this is their chance to tell people that, hey, we're a little bit better than people think of us too, and we're going to show it to the world today.
Well, and they also learned what not to do from Colorado State. Because Norvell, that was a bad mistake there. When you're under the hornet's nest under the tree, you don't look for a stick, and they look for a stick. And let me tell you, without that added emphasis for Colorado State might have wins that ball game, and it doesn't go into overtime. No, I think Oregon is too good of an organization. They're too good of a program to fall into that trap.
Right.
We're going to know what Dion in Colorado is today because they have a real challenge. Not to say anything against TCU, because look, I thought that was a hell of a win, right?
Yeah.
But you go out to Eugene and you play well and win that ball game.
Yeah.
You're for real.
Frank, all right, let's do this. Wilson and I, my son, he loves to crunch the numbers on the games. His reply to me about Auburn and A&M, he goes, I'm not touching it. He said, but A&M's struggle is in the red zone. Auburn's strength is protecting in the red zone on defense. So let's bounce around. I'm going to start with Frank and then to Dave and then to Matt. Let's take your top 3 or 4 picks that you like today because last week we crushed it, Frank. We crushed it. You were you were so hot. I had to throw cold water on you. By the way, who is the couple behind you in that picture on the wall? Is that you and Rhonda?
No, that's actually our kids. That's Sean and Ryan when they were younger.
Don't you love it? An Irish Catholic from New Orleans whose uncle was a cop. Well, young fella there. Let me see if I can give you a hand there. Bam! Whack you upside the head. Give me your top 3 or 4 picks. Frank Duffy, you're on the clock.
Well, hang on a second. I will say this. Last week, if you were going to have the winners that we had, they were never in doubt. LSU over Mississippi State. I just didn't do that because I was a homer. We did talk about how powerful it is in the early game for the away team to go in. They normally get a much quicker start, right? And I love the huge points, Wyoming getting it from Texas, because I knew Texas was going to be flat as a how did Schultz say? Flat as a pancake. Because
I know
after beating Alabama, they were going to be flat, and Wyoming played them very well.
Yep.
Texas eventually won, but I knew that 28 was good. But I love the 28 points that South Carolina was getting from Georgia. Oh, I knew that was way too rich because don't forget, South Carolina went in there 4 years ago and upset Georgia in the year that we won the national championship in 2019.
Yeah.
So I like both the points in that. Now, sadly, I think if South Carolina makes more adjustments at halftime like Georgia did, if they would have come out a little bit different, they might have been able to hang on and win that ball game. But you saw Kirby Smart on display and how brilliant he is at making halftime adjustments. You saw that in that game, the way that Georgia came out. That was a tale of 2 totally different games.
Well, today, Give me your favorites that you like. I mean, let's break down like 3 for. We got a lot of people out here who make wagers like hair matches, a box of fluorescent bulbs, some sponges, a steamer pack of crystals, or a 30 rack of Ham's beer. I referenced over my left shoulder.
I like Alabama giving up the points.
Thank you.
I think when you think Nick Saban has had the dirt spread over him. One last time, his hand shoots up from beyond the grave, and it hangs the 35 burger on you, even with their offense.
Yeah.
I like Auburn getting the points on the road. I would buy up the half a point. I'd make it 7.5. We were joking before. I'd take the extra half a point, and keeping in the SEC, I think LSU. I think we dispatch Arkansas tonight. I think Arkansas losing to BYU at home last week did not serve them well, having to come in and playing in Tiger Stadium. And we're what I saw last week, we're starting to fire on all cylinders. So I think we cover 17 pretty easily.
Free crawfish empanadas to all LSU fans at Frank's tailgate if they cover. All right, Dave Tompkins.
I'm mooching today. I left the RV in Georgia. I'm mooching off everybody else's RV stuff today.
There you go. Now, William Halliday, the intern, a sophomore at 6'1", 183 pounds, from MUS in Memphis. He's our intern, writes for the Auburn Plainsman, young sports writer. So we're going to get to him in a minute, but he's checking in here with us. And we lost Frank, or he's in the witness protection program. But Dave, give me top 3 or 4 picks today before we go to Matt. I love this stuff.
First off, from the Quad Cities, I think Fred Garvin gets it done tonight with Mrs. Potter, the same Mrs. Potter who's vice president of charge of loans of the Franklin National Bank of Chicago.
Here we go.
Second, I actually like Oregon minus 21. I'm a huge Coach Prime fan. I think he's going to get them in the playoffs in a couple years. But I think right now, in a basketball analogy, they're like Dunk City, Florida Gulf Coast, and it's now the Sweet 16, and they're going to it's going to kind of come to an end today. And then I like LSU minus 17.5 to Frank's point. I think they're rolling their way to becoming a juggernaut in the West.
Yeah. All right. Matt Dean, our first ever Matt is out live in Eugene, Oregon. His son, Tyler, is on the staff of Dan Lanning, the head football coach at the University of Oregon. But anyway, it's our first ever darkness appearance. It's dark out there. And at what time does the sun come up on the West Coast?
Well, it's up now, guys. It's just I got, it's a smaller quarters on the travel and trying to, not be too loud, and got all the lights off behind me.
I got you. I love it.
But
let's go with the Quad Cities top picks. Yeah, from the Fred Gervin. Let's go, Fred.
So here's what's interesting. When's the last time Clemson's been at home getting points? I can't remember. I can't remember to be a home dog, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think Florida State may beat them the second time in the ACC championship game today, but I'm going to take Clemson in the 2 points at home because Florida State didn't exactly look like a top 4 team at Boston College last weekend. I'm going to go with Frank. I like Alabama today. I mean, everybody's like, they're not dead. They still have some terrific football players. I think getting back to Milroe, I think the team will respond around him. And then 2 weeks ago, Frank, I think we're on the show when I was real intrigued 2 weeks ago about LSU and Arkansas. Well, after last week's Arkansas performance and after LSU's performance last week, I'm no longer intrigued. LSU is going to roll today.
Yep.
All right, William, we got to have your picks. I mean, you're watching all this stuff. And again, you don't have a problem watching the full game, but what's captivating you right now as a sophomore in college when you watch college football, besides your Auburn Tigers and your fathers and your team growing up, the Tennessee Volunteers? What has really got your attention and your friends' attention?
Yeah, what's really got my attention is just this weekend in general. I mean, we've got probably the most ranked matchups out of the first 4 weeks and in a while, and this is just a good weekend of college football. The games that I'm looking forward to watching are one game that no one has on their radar is Memphis versus Missouri.
Yep.
Memphis is at Missouri. They're playing at night. Missouri just came off a big win against Kansas State. And Memphis, they're 3-0, or I can't remember 4-0, but Seth Hennigan, their quarterback.
3-0.
3-0. Seth Hennigan, their quarterback, has been there for a few years, I believe, and he's done pretty well to start out. And they just got some new transfers on the defensive side. And I think they're a better defensive team. I don't think Missouri's going to see them coming, and I think that's going to be a win that Memphis can pull off. Another game I've got on my radar is the game of the night, Ohio State, Notre Dame. It's at Notre Dame. I think Ohio State, they're not looking as great this year. Their quarterback situation is a bit different than past years. I think Notre Dame rolls over them. And then the last game I've got is Auburn, Texas A&M. Now, Miss Brown, you're not going to like me saying this, but I got Texas A&M. Mainly because
you got to be honest.
I'm a fan. I'm an Auburn fan, but I'm being honest. Texas A&M, just what I've heard with their offense, even though the defense isn't looking as great in the secondary, just Auburn, the way I watched Peyton Thorne last week, even though he made some good plays, throw 2 interceptions against a less caliber team. I think that's a bad rap, and you're not going to look good against Texas A&M.
Well, look, here's the thing. Rule number 1.
They can't turn it over. You're exactly right. Auburn's got to play clean football.
Rule number 1, William, and I really respect this of you, you cannot get emotionally attached to the team that you cover. I tell my clients this all the time. Don't get emotionally attached to that stock that you own. It is a piece of paper, okay? It doesn't know what price you bought it at, where you want to sell it, or where you want to buy it if it goes down anymore. I like this one. From Krusty the Clown in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Oklahoma is rising and will dominate the SEC. Krusty the Clown. Wasn't he a rabbi? Krusty was I saw Krusty on The Simpsons the other day.
The Simpsons, yeah.
Yeah. No, that Dave, the expense of cable, as we all know, Jethro and I like to look through the neighbors when they have the blinds pulled up. I saw the first 7 minutes of it. Then they put the blinds down. I guess they were doing the devil's work. Frank, you raised your hand. It's like school. Yes.
No,
go ahead,
I'm just saying I had Oklahoma against Tulsa last week, and Oklahoma blew doors on that game. I think they win again today. And you're right. I mean, look, and you know what's going to be really fascinating when next year, I mean, I know we're talking about this year, but when next year comes, it's going to be like 2 siblings rivaling each other to try and get to the dinner table first. Oklahoma and Texas, to see who can make the biggest impression first in the conference, is going to be hilarious to watch. It's going to, I mean, Oklahoma already is feeling the syndrome of, Texas's big brother and their little brother coming in. It's going to be outstanding to see. I think Oklahoma, they've got a great shot to win that conference on their way out. And from what I saw last week, they're a very, very strong offensive football team.
Yeah, okay. Matt. Okay, I love this. Look, just raise your hand when you want to chime in. We're going to do this rapid fire. Let's do this. Let's take a quick break. Like that from Krusty the Clown. He is a curmudgeon, is what he is.
Either raise your hand or do a Arnold Horseshack.
That's right. You raise your hand. I tell you, when I went to Christian Brothers High School, if you didn't raise your hand and you blurted out an answer, Coach Russell Reed may come over there and do a vertical suplex with Gordon Solich here on WWE SmackDown. Russell Reed, he'd get you. So I learned to raise my hand. Yeah, let's do it. Let's take a quick break. We got comments coming. Yeah, that's Krusty the Clown. Making me laugh. I can't concentrate. I'm ADD and OCD, Frank. I have a very short attention span. I forgot what. Okay, we're taking a break. We'll be right back. William, Billy Ray Valentine, Halliday, Matt Dean out there hanging out with the Bhagwan Rajneesh in Eugene, Oregon. Dave Tompkins in the low country of South Carolina. He's got low country stew boiling out back with Free Ham's beer for all of us. If we can get there before noon, we can't. And Frank Duffy down there in New Orleans or Baton Rouge? You're in New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Yeah,
okay. Up with a little bit.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back for the fourth quarter of Sidelines right after this.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am R.A. Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.
Oh, if I hacked them.
Krusty the Clown is what it sounds like, Dad. Krusty the Clown in New Orleans. Hey, Principal Skinner here has some picks he wants to ask you all about. Okay, he's going to go get his glasses, but some of the guys, we're over here, we're having a work day. That's why we're over here at the Cherry Farm. You know, the sexy part of duck hunting is all the work that goes in year-round, like cleaning out the bays and getting the snakes to get out of there that have been resting comfortably the last 3 months, and alligators in the duck blinds and stuff. Now, around here, we've got gators. Oklahoma, Cincinnati. Does anybody have a pick on that for MJ?
I love Oklahoma giving up the points.
Frank loves Oklahoma giving up the points. All right. Whoa. Here we go. Okay. Okay.
Well, it was 13.5, and I think the line's gone up to 14.5. I got it at 13.5. I normally get my bets in early.
You're talking about Oklahoma, Cincinnati.
14 under Oklahoma under 13.5.
Okay. All right. So bottom line, and William, I like the way you broke it down. Matt Dean, I want to ask you about this Oregon game, being as distanced as you can, not to forget the fact that you've got your son on the staff of Oregon, but I think Oregon is minus 21.5. Let's get your pick on that one.
It's a big number because when you're looking at 3 touchdowns, that means you could be up 28 points in the fourth quarter and there's a sloppy late score and you don't cover.
Get backdoored.
Good.
That's right. You're 100% correct, Frank. So, I think Oregon's going to win the game handily, but I'm not going to give you a number on that. I'm going to, for political reasons, I'm going to stay neutral on that.
Yeah.
You're going to Kirk Herbstreit. I'm calling the game. I cannot call it.
That's right. I am calling the game, and I cannot. That's right.
William, you got a pick. You're the young one here, Billy Ray Valentine right here. Capricorn, man. How you doing?
I think it'll be a high-scoring game. I think Shadur Sanders can keep up with them offensively. I just don't think that Colorado's defense can keep up with Bo Nix, though, another Heisman candidate. So I'm going to keep it right now. I got them by 2 touchdowns. I got them by 2 touchdowns.
Okay, let's head back up there. Dave Tompkins in the Low Country. Any other picks you want to know about here? We've got Krusty the Clown's brother, Saul Rosenberg here. If you ever have a slip and fall, call Saul. Spring, summer, winter, or fall. Saul Rosenberg. Hey, Saul, what do we got? Yeah.
Let's go Arkansas, LSU.
Arkansas, LSU. Y'all all love LSU to cover tonight, correct?
I think everyone was unanimous there.
That was a unanimous when they feel like –
I went the other way.
Yeah, he's going the other way. He's taking the Hogs to cover.
Okay.
Are you saying straight up or to cover? To cover. Yeah, to cover. Okay. Ohio State, Notre Dame. Notre Dame last beat Ohio State when Franklin Delano Roosevelt was running the country into the ground in 1936, I might add. Who wins that one tonight in South Bend with the lights on?
Who picked Notre Dame earlier? I'm going Notre Dame and the points. I think Notre Dame wins straight up. I think they have a better coaching staff, and I think they've got they've got a great quarterback. I think this is their year to beat Ohio State. USC, not so confident there, but I do feel good about them tonight.
All right, interesting thing here from Shoney down in Valdosta, Georgia. No Travis Hunter for Colorado makes minus 21.5 difficult.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah,
they're going to miss him more on defense than on offense, and I think they're going to put Shadur Sanders on the ground at least 5 times, maybe more. that's their one kind of Achilles heel on offense, and they can't run the ball.
Yeah. All right.
To cover, Colorado's got to at least score 14 to 17 points for them to cover.
But I'm with what Matt Dean says. You get Notre Dame plus the points right side from Shoney. Shoney is a mathematician down there at the bunker in Valdosta, Georgia, nicknamed Titletown, USA, I might add. William.
High school Titletown, you're right.
It is.
Smoking pig barbecue.
Yeah, well, you know what? You know what another great barbecue place is? If you're ever over in Monticello, Georgia, on the way there, but after you pass through Griffin, Georgia, where the high school nickname is the Griffin Bears, when they score a touchdown, the Bears' eyes light up bright red on the scoreboard. Only an idiot savant knows that, but it is Savant Saturday with Dave Tompkins, William Halliday, Matt Dean, Frank Duffy in the Witness Protection Program, the Irish Catholic guy whose uncle was an Irish cop in New Orleans. You can't make this stuff up. Eating at Liuzzi's Italian food on a Saturday. Okay, Texas and Baylor. Who likes what on that one? That's a good one. Man, there's so many good games today. There ain't enough couch time to get it all in. Somebody, William, give me your pick on Texas and Baylor today.
It's Texas. It's just Texas.
Hook 'em, horns up, horns down.
Hook 'em, horns.
Horns up.
Yep.
15 in the hook. Okay. All right, Frank.
I'm not touching that one. I'm staying away.
Frank Duffy says I wouldn't touch it. So kind of like the guy that has to de-bloat the mob corpses when they get knocked off outside of the good Italian restaurant in the Bronx. Okay.
That's right.
Dave Tompkins.
What's the other
I got 17 points. So I'm taking Baylor in 17.
He's taking Baylor. Dave Tompkins, Savant Saturday, my Savant twin. We're both the same age. He's taking who again?
I'm taking Baylor in 17.
He's taking Baylor in 17.
We both have a mind with about 438 moving parts.
Matt Dean, what is the Bhagwan pick for today? Have you seen? Is the Bhagwan cult still in operation out there in Eugene? You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
Rob, you've been texting me that for 2 days, and I don't know what the hell you're talking about. But
it was that documentary.
Okay, I missed it. A couple of quick thoughts. I want to agree with Dave and Frank. First of all, I would stay away from that game because Texas was 10-10 at home with Wyoming in the fourth quarter last week. So I know we're on the Texas train because of the big win in Tuscaloosa. Yeah, I still completely believe that they are going to be in the Final Four. So I would take the points if you had to have me make a pick today because, Baylor lost a really tough game, I think, to Texas State. Now, they were tied late with Utah, who I think is a very, very good football team.
Yes.
So I would take the points. I'll give you a sleeper, though, guys, and no one's even going to talk about this, but my Hawkeyes are getting 14. No one thinks they can go into Happy Valley and win. They have the second-rated PFF defense in the country. I think that game's an under, and Iowa finds a way to cover like 20-14 or something like that.
All right, MJ, here's another one. Matt likes Iowa to cover in State College today. And Shoney says Texas
14.
minus 17. Baylor, as Uncle Jed would say, is pitiful. Just pitiful. Yeah, Matt likes Iowa to cover in State College today. You like Iowa to cover. MJ's gonna bet the ranch. If he loses,
well, it's supposed to rain
on
out
your
there,
door.
guys. It's supposed to be a sloshy track. If that's the case, remember Kirk Ferentz beat Joe Paterno. Kirk's from the state of PA, 6-4 in a college football game at one time. 6-4. Okay. So if Iowa could just hold tight in the red zone and make them kick field goals and score 10-14 points, I think they cover.
All right.
It's not a whiteout tonight, is it?
It is. It's going to be tough. It is.
Oh, that's always tough against a whiteout.
William, here's one for you. Bulldogs and Gamecocks from Dave Baker, our good friend. He's got one son, Michael, is at Mississippi State, a daughter, Caroline, at South Carolina. I can't pick due to family concerns. Hey, what do they say in all the Godfather and the mob movies? It's nothing personal. It's just business.
That's right. Strictly business.
William, you can pick, though, a 6'1", 183-pound sophomore from MUS, wide receiver for the Auburn Tigers. let's take your pick, Billy Ray Valentine.
Yeah, I've got South Carolina, mainly because Spencer Rattler and even though they lost by 10 against Georgia, I think they put a good fight up against them. And then Will Rogers couldn't get anything going against LSU last week. I mean, he could not hit like barely any passes from what I could tell when I was watching it. So that just Will Rogers not looking great last week is why I'm picking Spencer Rattler in the Gamecocks this week.
Well, here's an ode to the past. I love this one from my man, Lane Duggar. Leonard, I love it. Leonard's losers in a close one, the Felines from Lee County. Remember Leonard Postero in Athens, Georgia? He'd go, well, the Lee County Tigers are going to travel out there to College Station. They'll be gigging them and doing everything out there. But in a close one, the Felines from Lee County take Auburn in the points. I loved Leonard's losers. Thank you, Lane Duggar. Lane, I knew Lane when I was a freshman. He was a senior at 715 West Magnolia, a magical place. Lane Duggar is one of the nicest, coolest guys I know. Keep him and his family in our prayers. Going through a lot. Love that guy. He's one of the most optimistic, positive people I know. Hey,
wasn't Leonard's sidekick Percy?
Yeah, Percy. Matt, do you remember Leonard's losers growing up in Iowa? You may not have heard him. My sidekick Percy. Well, Billy Ray William, I'll tell you a cool story that you could write for the Auburn Plainsman along the line of what Dave and Frank and I is about Leonard's losers. Whatever happened to Leonard's losers? We need something like that back on the airwaves. All right. Man, this stuff is coming in. Okay, here's another one from our man, Lane Duggar. If you need to get back to even in week 4, take Illinois. Get yourself a new map. Remember that in Tommy Boy? Yes. Take Illinois to get back on track.
Illinois.
Illinois. What about that from Lane Duggar in Noonan, Georgia, home of Sprayberry's Barbecue? But I got distracted a minute ago, and I was trying to say about I love this. Lane Duggar, do I take the 9 points in Aggie land and watch the Tigers break my heart, or do I say I'm going for it and lay the points and win some cash? That's a tough one, man. I can't touch that one today. Matt, you're raising your hand. Go ahead.
Well,
Matt,
I just want to give you some statistical Matt Dean analysis on that game because my son used to be on that staff, right? So they have a lot. They have a very talented roster. Tyler was part of Connor Wegman's recruiting the quarterback. But we're hearing a lot about this Bobby Petrino offense, right? Couple thoughts on the Aggies. First of all, they put up points against New Mexico and Louisiana Monroe, even though we love our guy, John Hartwell. I'm not saying Monroe's going to win the national championship this year. Against Miami, who I don't think Miami's better, but they're still not where they aspire to be. They gave up 48. I'm going to tell you what, Auburn's got a chance today because I'm still not sold on A&M. I am not. That's all I want to say.
Well, that's a great point. And you know what? There are so many games. I cannot remember a weekend, and I'm gonna tell you what. These lines are tough, but here's the one that gets me. And I love this one. Man, we're getting all kind of people. I got 48 texts that I cannot even type fast enough to get on here. Thank you for sending these things in on YouTube. Hey, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We just started pushing it here in the last couple of weeks. We're going to grow those numbers. And it is a sin. It is a sin making Will Rogers, QB at Mississippi State, learn a new offense this year. I call it coaching malpractice. But that is a great point. Wesley Duncan in Fort Lauderdale, Florida says, hello, Lane Duggar. Of course, they both grew up in Lee County, Alabama. And I'll tell you what, this is what gets me is everybody, when you play at home, my theory on betting games is 11 o'clock favors the visiting team because you're coming in already aggressive and you can take the home crowd out, jumping up on top 14-0 in the first quarter. And a lot of the fans won't even go into the game. Okay. Number 2, this is very important. Talent is important. okay? But I use and I reference this case. Clemson, Duke, Labor Day. I watched it on the color TV. Clemson had 56 players on their roster rated 4 or 5 star. You know how many Duke had? 2. Final score, Duke 28, Clemson 7.
Yep.
The toughest, Coach Dye used to say, we may not be the most talented team in America, but ain't no reason in the world we can't be the toughest, most mentally tough, hardest working, physical, get after your ass for a full 60 team in America. And that's my pledge to the Auburn family. Auburn. Auburn. But I agree with that. And man, I tell you what, would y'all agree trying to make Will Rogers from Rankin, Mississippi, try to be a quarterback? I love Zach Arnett, but why would you change that air raid? I know you want your own identity, but the last 2 weekends, Will Rogers' statistics have been the lowest outputs he's had since he was an 8th grader in Rankin, Mississippi, playing for his father. Frank Duffy, we lost you there for a second. I thought aliens got you. Bigfoot may have got you, or maybe a streaker got you at the 7-Eleven.
No, I had a restroom break, boys.
Oh, there we go. I like the honesty.
Will Rogers absolutely looked like a fish out of water last week. I was absolutely surprised at how they him so one-dimensional. That was the thing about playing Mississippi State last year and then the year before, is that they were so much more diverse in their offense. And I get what Will Arnett's trying to do. He's trying to get back to controlling the clock and letting their defense play, basically old school Mississippi State football. And, sometimes, if the genius is not there anymore, the system itself doesn't just run itself, right? There's a lot of art to that. So I get why they're doing what they're doing, but you're right. They made Will Rogers very single-sided, if you will, and that played right into LSU's hands. There was no way they were running the ball on us. We're too fast on the front 7, and they had very little offense throughout the whole game.
Someone said, I keep getting all these texts. Love the reference to Nick Saban's hand coming up from the grave. I mean, he is still. I just checked. Hold on a second. Yes, he's
the end of deliverance.
He's still coaching at Alabama.
Friday the 13th with Jason coming up out of the water. Listen to me. There's been many a season, and look, we just have to go back a couple of years when Auburn had Alabama beat, and Alabama not only won that game, but has a shot at a national championship. So no, when you think you've got Saban out of this thing, that's when he pulls a Saban, and Alabama is Alabama again. And I think they handle Lane and Ole Miss today. I'm telling you, I watched every down of that Tulane game that Ole Miss played. If Alabama can get anything out of Jalen Milroe today, and I think their offense is far more dynamic with him. Yes, he makes mistakes, but it's far more dynamic than with the 2 backups. I think Alabama is going to put a hurting on Ole Miss today.
And let me say this, and Dave Tompkins brought this up earlier, and does this ring a bell, anybody?
Mrs. Potter?
Yes, that's me.
The same Mrs. Potter who's vice president in charge of loans for the Franklin National Bank of Chicago?
Yeah, that's
Hey, these are.
Okay, this is for you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
May I come in?
What for?
Well, you see, ma'am, when a VIP like yourself comes to Moline to do business, it's customary for the company to send a gal up to the room. Compliments of Great Lakes Feed and Grain.
Since you're a gal.
The company sent me, Fred Garvin, male prostitute.
Oh, my God.
And then later Garrett Morris comes in as the pimp. Slick.
Yeah, that's right.
It's Slick. Slick, you see, is a gentleman of leisure. He looks after me and the girls.
That was
Saturday Night Live was funny.
It was.
Saturday
God.
Night Live was funny.
Well, how about the one when they've got Phil Hartman is the Sinatra group, and they've got Sinead O'Connor on there, and he's kind of going around. He'll go going, honey, he goes, and finally he's had enough of Sinead O'Connor's, whining and complaining. He goes, all right, Uncle Fester, what do you say?
He turns to Mike Myers and who were playing Steve and Edie Gourmet. Steve Lawrence Gourmet goes, that's one cuckoo McBroad.
Oh my God, William. Here's the deal.
Cuckoo McBroad.
William, and I've known William's dad since kindergarten, Bubba. And you talk about Big Orange is the pride of the Southland band, comes out and forms that giant T. In just a few moments, the Tennessee Volunteers will come running onto the field. And then, ladies and gentlemen, no matter where you are, it's football time in Tennessee. Tennessee plays the University of Texas San Antonio Roadrunners today. Matt, meep. That's what the Roadrunner sounds like. We've now got Roadrunners in Arkansas, folks. They are so cool. You know what? Technically, they're a flightless bird, like the ostrich and the dodo bird. But somebody give me a pick. Does Tennessee cover today? And that came in from Fred Gervin from the Great Lakes Seed and Feed Company. Yes.
They cover.
It all depends on whether Frank Harris plays for the Roadrunners. I think if Frank Harris plays, I'd take the Roadrunners in points.
Anyone that knows any player on the Texas San Antonio's roster gets a steamer pack of crystals from me. Dave, the next time I see you, you get a steamer pack of crystals. Some people say that the onions are what cause the flatulations, but crystals are what cause them. You just want a steamer pack of crystals and a 30 rack of Ham's beer. I don't think anyone in this collective group can name a player on the University of Texas.
Well, Army played them last week and beat them in San Antonio in the Alamo Dome. And Frank Harris did not play. They were supposedly resting him up for this game.
I love it.
So I got a little insider, knowledge.
I'm going to tell you what. I absolutely love that. This is fun. I mean, we're letting this thing get out of control like a forest fire. This is what's fun because I get all these things from people, talk about this, talk about that. I love this round table format. And what happens a lot during the weekdays, we're here Monday, as they say in the Deep South, I got to say it, Monday through Saturday. I don't think there's a spelling on that, but Saturday. Monday through Saturday, 8 to 10 a.m. Central. We are here. Catch us live or at your leisure, as Nigel says. Catch us YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. I think 18 different platforms. A lot of growth on this show. Thanks to all of our listeners, our sponsors, to the people. Type in these questions. I love it. I cannot type that fast. My assistant Mildred, she's on the writer's strike, out in Hollywood, and so it makes it difficult to get her to come in here and help. She's like, if she comes in here and types something, that may cost me a new dress or some new socks or maybe some sponges and some knee pads for the kitchen floor is a little dirty, Mildred. I digress, but I'm about to get hit from behind.
$1.98 mini pearl hat.
There you go. Hey, but let me say this, William. How about a story about what we talked about earlier? Whatever happened to Leonard's Losers? Would that be a consensus? So let's get closing comments. Remember in the old days when people were hard of hearing, they would put an ear horn up. Remember those ear horns that people used to use? Does anyone remember an ear horn? Maybe they were just popular back in the 1920s. So I digress. All right, Frank, we're gonna bounce around. We're going to bounce around and see what you got. Give me one surprise pick, each of y'all, and then we're going to close out. We got about 5 minutes to go.
Well, again, my surprise pick is LSU's going to blow out Arkansas. And I was in Tiger Stadium when Darren McFadden and Felix Jones came in and beat us in 2007, which at the time, it was double overtime, and we thought we had lost our shot at a national championship. only to have 7 things happen on Championship Saturday, which got us back into the national championship to boat race Ohio State. Arkansas always plays us tough, but today you're going to see the difference between a very deep, talented team and a team that's talented, but it's one layer thick.
Okay, real quick. Buddy Martin said he was under the weather today, so we got about 3 minutes left. Buddy, this is the quickest segment you've ever done. Join us again next week. But we got everybody on here. Let me say, most often we see the face of Christ and least among us. We live in the greatest country in the history of the world, and we have the most hardcore regulars on this round table, even for just a few minutes. I love it, buddy. Thanks for joining us. Say what you got to say, because you ain't backing down, because we are the old boys of Florida.
Boys from old Florida. And by the way, my voice is gone. One of the reasons I'm having a problem, but I'll make it through. I just say sorry I couldn't be there today. Is thing. But I'm really optimistic now about the Florida Gators. They play Charlotte in a game that wouldn't matter ordinarily. But what we saw last week against Tennessee, the continuation of that, there's great hope in the swamp now. All of a sudden, this changed the dynamics of that place. Gator fans, especially the ones who are old guard, ones who cared about what was going on, have a new feeling about this team. So what they do against Charlotte, if they do get better than they did last week, Billy Napier now has got something going to build on that. It's a meaningless game to everybody else, but the Gator fans tonight, very important to Florida, follow through on this, and they have a chance now to be a decent team this year. So a lot of great games today, including Auburn, what have you. So FSU Clemson talked to Urban yesterday on our show. There's some great games. I look for that, guys. Hope you have a great weekend. I'll get out of here. Just say I'm sorry I couldn't get there earlier.
No, buddy, hang on. Listen, Matt's up in Eugene, Oregon. His son's on the staff with Dan Lanning. Say hello to buddy,
Matt.
Matt.
How you doing, man?
Hey, buddy. Always good to see you. It's been a long time. I hope you feel better. Your voice gets back soon. But I will tell you, I agree with I was pulling for your Gators last week, and honestly, I think LSU and Florida have a lot in common. They lost to really good opponents week 1, and they're getting better every week. You look at those 2 games last week, what Florida did to Tennessee and what LSU did on the road to Mississippi State. I mean, the sky's the limit, man. They're playing well.
They would definitely get right games, no doubt.
Yeah.
Here's a quick summation. True what you said, but it's not the year for the SEC we thought it would be.
Yeah.
Urban told me last night, no way they get 2 teams in. It ain't happening. He's got them ranked the 3rd best conference in the country. I don't agree with that, but he's honest about it. So there's something to be fixed here. Can they get it fixed in time? I don't know, but we're seeing different things, and we see it's a new era for some teams. Who will that team be? I don't know. Ole Miss? Is Georgia going to fail? I don't know. There's a lot on the table. As they say in pool, the game is still on the table.
Yeah. Hey, buddy, this over on the far right is our intern, William Halliday, Billy Ray Valentine, sophomore writer, 6'1", 183-pound sophomore from Memphis MUS High School, writes for the Auburn Plainsman. Any advice you would want to give him? William, you were talking with the former sports editor of the New York Daily News, the Denver Post, St. Petersburg Times. He has trained people like Rick Riley. He worked with Woody Page. This is a living legend, as is Dave Tompkins, Frank Duffy, Matt Dean. But this is a guy you want to emulate true grit journalism. This dude right here, get on his back wheel and listen. Buddy, what do you got to say to William?
William, first of all, don't ever say I wasn't born then. When somebody says what happened, read about it, okay? I wasn't born in World War II, but I know about it because I read about it. But you're with a good bunch of people right here, I can tell you that. I have a lot of friends who are from Auburn, and folks, I talked to Woody last night. He was on my show. He, by the way, says Deion is the real deal. He says it used to be Tebow mania in Denver, and now it's Deion mania. It's how big it is right now. And let me tell you this, for all of us who dismissed him for his gold chains and sunglasses, Urban will tell you this is a good man and a man who loves his players, and they love him back, and they are doing a phenomenal thing.
And he's a good coach. He coaches them up, especially during mid-game.
Really good coach.
Yeah, man, listen, unfortunately, we've run out of time, but I got to say to all of y'all, on this page, I love you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us here on the show. Buddy, ditto, everybody. We had Doug Dean on in the first hour. He's got to be in the man cave during the baby shower and watch the grandkids and watch football. Somebody's got to do it. He's got the Bloody Mary mix in there. I think he's going to make it. But everybody have a great day. Watch a lot of college football. You never know what kind words and kind deeds can do to change people's lives. You got a lot of money. You got a lot of blessings. Go out and bless others. We live in the greatest country in the history of the world because we have people willing to lay it on the line like Dave Tompkins and all of our veterans, combat, active duty, and not. But thanks for listening. Out of here. We'll see you Monday. Have a great day.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.